तत्परं पर्याय विद्महे ज्ञानलिङ्गेश्वराय धीमहि तन्नो गुरुः प्रचोदयात्। ओम योग महर्षि डॉक्टर स्वामी गीतानंद गिरि गुरु महाराज की जय। Welcome back to another of our sessions, 76 and counting, and a very beautiful response from so many of you for these sessions where I've been sharing whatever I can in whatever way I can. For me, sharing is caring, and each and every one of you who's part of my worldwide yoga family is such an important component of this journey. A journey that is a journey of mindfulness, a journey of consciousness, a journey that is towards enabling us to be the best version of ourselves and enable others to be the best version of themselves in the same process. It is not just me alone or me first journey. It is a journey that involves us understanding others and bringing them up along with our journey. It is a journey of collective consciousness. It is a journey that is of a heartful nature and heartfelt nature. We have been talking about the Bindu concept, and the Bindus, which are the focal points of consciousness, they are the aperture between the unmanifest and the manifest. And we have said they are at the layer of the interface between the Vijnanamaya Kosha and the Manomaya Kosha. That point where we have the capacity to choose and focus the mind, that discerning mind, that mind which has metacognitive capacity to have objectivity towards a subjective experience. People often talk about yoga being subjective. Yes, indeed, it is a subjective, experiential journey. But in that journey, it is important there is also a higher sense of objectivity. And that is why the Vairagya component is so important. Patanjali says along with Abhyasa, there has to be Vairagya. Because Abhyasa alone will be like that accelerator, that if you just put that accelerator, your car goes and hits the opposite end of the street. You need also the brake. That is the Vairagya, to be able to step back. And the interplay, a conscious, mindful interplay between the accelerator and the brake enables your vehicle to have a safe, comfortable and smooth journey. Similarly for our sadhana, Abhyasa Vairagya Bhyam Tan Nirodha, he says, when Abhyasa and Vairagya both are having that beautiful interplay, that is the point where then the sadhana can go ahead. It is like you have two horses, and if one is going in one end and the other going to the other end, your cart or your chariot goes nowhere. We need to have that integration of both. That is why the effort that we make, the conscious self-effort we make, that is the Abhyasa. And the stepping back is the Vairagya. So we need to develop an objectivity towards our own subjective experiences in yoga. That is where the metacognitive Vairagya comes in. And discernment, which is Viveka, enables us to know whether it is an experience or whether it is just a hallucinatory state where we think we have made it. It is called Bhranti Darshana in Patanjali's Antaraya. He says Navantaraya, there are 9 obstacles, and Bhranti Darshana is one where you think you have made it when you haven't made it. And because you think you have made it, you have been tricked by your subconscious, unconscious into thinking you have made it, you stop making any effort. So in this journey, when we come to the Bindu sadhana, we have been seeing how we have the external Bindus. Moola at the root, Nabi at the navel. We can include a H if you want. Usually it is not part of the system, but you can be included. Nothing wrong with it. Normally we bring straight to the throat, kanta. So if you include this, you have a bindu also, hridaya bindu. Here you have the kanta bindu, nasagra, bhru madhya. Bhru madhya. Madhya means the middle. Bhru, eyebrows. Bhru madhya. And then, as I said, you have inside you have the ajna. At the top you have the Trikuti. Trikuti is a very important bindu. And Trikuti is also one of those bindus which is in a chakra. The Trikuti chakra is our 10th center. And in the Gitananda tradition, we don't limit to 7 centers or 6. We take it up to 12 chakras. 6 higher, 6 lower. The 6 higher are called the 6 Anda chakras, the cosmic centers. And the 6 lower are called the Pinda chakras, which are the Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha and Ajna. These are the lower 6. The cerebrospinal. Cerebro because the Ajna comes in. Otherwise they are all spinal. Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha and Ajna. But then you have the causal 6, starting with the Sahasrara. So Sahasrara is 7th, but it's also the first of the higher 6. And then you have the Narayanana, Brahmananda, Trikuti, which is the 10th, Swaminana and Muktana, to make up the 12 chakra system. All these higher 6 centers, those energies are normally brought together and depicted in the Sahasrara. So when people talk about the Shat chakra system, they are correct. There are the 6 Pinda chakras. When they talk about the 7 chakra, that is also correct because it's the Shat chakra, which are the Pinda plus the Sahasrara representing the other 6. But when you expand it, you have the expanded version, the 6 lower, the 6 higher. So the 10th center is the Trikuti chakra. It is the center of escape. The Trikuti is the point of escape through which the soul or the Atma or the spirit that is residing in this body, it is supposed to leave. When we talk about the soul, the spirit, the Atma coming in yoga it is said that with the first breath of life, when the baby takes the first breath of life, it is at that point that the prana enters through the Manipura. And now you have a separate individual. Till that first breath of life, the baby and the mother were 2 in 1. They were a single unit having 2. But now with the first breath of life, the baby has become its own separate entity. And the prana enters through the Manipura, the navel center, which is the center. And then from there, travels into whichever center is to be the main center for that person's lifetime, which is what we understand through the yantra analysis. So when we say somebody is a certain dharma marga or birth path and a certain center is open, it means that at birth the prana has entered through the Manipura and then it takes up its headquarters in one of these centers, 1 to 9 basically. The Trikuti is the point through which the breath is to leave the body at death. Now, breath can leave the body at death through many ways. Breath can leave through the bowel. For many people it happens and they make a big mess as they die. It can leave through the mouth, through the nose, and the best one is through the top of the head. So it is said when the breath is leaving the body, it is important how it leaves. And traditionally it is said if the breath leaves through the lower part of the body, the anal sphincter, the person is born in a subhuman form. That is one of the concepts. Personally, I do not think that a human being can come back in any other form but a human being, because I feel that the evolutionary journey of the path has already come much more than that 8 million plus at that point. So I don't think we are going to go back to being amoeba. And often people, when they talk about this karma cycle, they say, don't kill that mosquito, or you will be born as a mosquito and that mosquito will be born as a human being and will kill you. And so you and that individual mosquito are locked in this. You kill the mosquito, mosquito kills you. You kill the mosquito, mosquito kills you, which is actually not how it works, okay? Things are much more multi-dimensional than just you kill a mosquito and then you come back and the mosquito will come back and kill you, and then you're just, that's based on revenge, not an understanding of karma. But it is said that when one leaves the body through the lower part, the anal sphincter, one comes back in a lower life form. And initially I used to say it's odd because how will a human being be born again as a hippopotamus? I don't think it's possible. But one could be a human form and be a hippopotamus here. And then I realized, yes, it is possible that people who live this way come back where they look human but they are not human. Because you see a lot of these people, 7 billion counting on this planet, who look human and who act so subhuman that this may be the only explanation that can enable you to have compassion on them. Instead of getting mad at them, you have compassion on these people who are subhuman in many ways. So what we do is that the second option, you leave through the mouth. If you leave through the mouth, it is said you come back at the same level. So whatever level of evolution you have come in this journey, you come back at that same level. And then if you leave through the nose, it is said you come back at an elevated higher level. So the idea is that you train yourself to breathe so that when you breathe out, your out is through the nose. This is why a lot of importance is given in yoga on the nasal breathing capacity, developing the nasal breathing and being aware of letting go. When you breathe out, the aham is left off and a chance for you to let go. Now, the yogic principle is that you should live through the top of the head, because then you don't have to come back again. So the idea is that Trikuti, Bindu and Trikuti chakra, these are the escape routes through which you can climb out of this whole system and you can go off on a tangent. You don't have to keep on coming back again and again. That is why Trikuti is the escape from the three pain, tapatraya. It is said that the suffering, karma and suffering, tapatraya, could be of three types: Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika and Adhyatmika. Adi Bhautika is the suffering related to the place you are born. Adi Daivika is because of whatever happens as supernatural forces of divine intervention. And then you have the third, which is Adhyatmika, which is the suffering you bring on yourself, which to me is the commonest one. Most of the time people are like Kalidasa. Kalidasa was our greatest poet in Sanskrit. And even a steel cup falling down the stairs evoked poetry from him. Such an amazing man. But before he became Kalidasa, he was the village idiot. And it is said that he was sitting on a branch of a tree, and on the branch of the tree, he was sitting at the end of the branch and he was cutting the root of the branch. And when someone came and asked him, they said, "Be careful, if you do that, you are going to fall down." The usual response from such ignorant human beings is, "You mind your business. You think you are more intelligent. Who do you think you are? I know it all." This I know it all attitude, he's sitting on the branch, tip of the branch, cutting the root, sawing off his own connection to the source. And I think most people are like that actually. So Adi Bhautika. Adi Bhautika means from Bhu. Bhu is the planet, Earth. Adi means the source. So the source of the suffering being where you are on Earth. So different countries have their own karma. So if you live in India, you have certain karma. If you live in North America, you have another type of karma. If you live in Australia, another type. New Zealand, a different type. So Adi Bhautika, from the Bhu, from the place where you are living on this planet. Adi Bhautika. Second, Adi Daivika, from the divine. And then Adhyatmika, from the self. So these are the three suffering. They are also the three sources of karma. So karma and suffering. So tapa, tapa means the suffering. Tapa is suffering, and traya is three. Tapa traya. The Trikuti is the point where you can escape from these three sufferings, not to come back again. Both Gautama Buddha and Maharishi Patanjali, they realize that for the person who has the highest intellect and the discerning capacity, Vivekina, when that Viveka opens up, you realize Dukkhameva Sarvam Vivekinaha. You realize that everything that we see, everything that we perceive is actually suffering. And then you realize, I better get out of this. How do you escape? Trikuti. So Dukkhameva Sarvam Vivekinaha, as Patanjali tells us. And we have to go out of this. We have to transcend this cycle of birth and rebirth. That is why the great Siddhas have sung Piravaram Tarum Pemane Piravaram Tarum Pemane Piravaram Tarum. Please grant me the boon not to be born again. Pirapu means birth. Pirapenum Pedamai, as Thiruvalluvar says, the suffering of being born. At the same time, being born is an opportunity. Aridu Manidarai Pirathal Aridu says Avayar. What is it a boon for? To get rid of that suffering and escape. So, to be born is suffering because you are going to be caught in this cycle. And that, according to the Yoga Vashishta, is the real psychosomatic disease. Adija Vyadi, Sara means essential, S-A-R-A. Sara Adija Vyadi is to be born again and again. Samanya Adija Vyadi are all the psychosomatic disorders that we deal with. You know, the common diseases, Samanya Adija Vyadi, are the common psychosomatic diseases which different therapy modalities will help you. But the Sara Adija Vyadi, which is to be born again and again, and you get clogged in this cycle of birth and rebirth, that you want to come out of it. And the Yoga Vashishta, sage Vashishta tells Lord Rama, the means for this, the antidote for this is Atma Jnana. Atma Jnana is the key. When you can realize yourself. That is why the key, the first stage is Swadhyaya, self-analysis, introspectional self-analysis is Swadhyaya. Then comes self-actualization. Then comes self-realization. And then comes that point where you are one with the self. Moksha, Mukti, Nirvana, Kaivalya, so many terms for this. When one transcends it. So if one wants to escape with this Trikuti, so you will say, Dr. Ananda, I understand there's an opening at the anus, so breath, life force can go out. I understand there's an opening in the mouth, life force can go out. I understand there's an opening at the nose, the life force can go out. Where is the opening here? It's a thick skull. And that is where you have to go back to being a baby. When the babies are born, we have an anterior and posterior fontanelle. The anterior and posterior fontanelle are the areas that are actually open in the skull. The skull is not totally closed as a baby. It is only as we grow older we become these hard, thick-skulled idiots. When we are born as a baby in the mother's womb, the baby, what happens is the skull bones, they can overlap. There's a gap there. So that the skull bones can overlap, so that this big head, compared to the rest of the body, if you look at the proportion of the head of the baby compared to the rest of the body, it's huge. It has to come through the birth canal. And for that, nature has kept that space. so that there can be that overlapping of the skull bones and the baby can come out. So you have the anterior posterior fontanelle, which are very useful in emergencies in pediatrics. If you need to give any infusion to the baby, you can actually give it through the fontanelle. So these are openings that then later on closed as the bones grew, ossified, and created the thick skull we have. But psychically, these openings are still existing. Energetically, they are still existing. And this is why in many cultures, including traditional Indian culture, after the person is born, after the person dies, I'm getting birth and death confused. That really means I've been up since the morning having a wonderful session with wonderful group of people in Minneapolis, where I was leading a session thanks to my dear beloved Stomaji. And so I've been up a bit more, so you can excuse me for a bit of that. This area, which now is closed, has a psychic opening. So don't just look at physical openings, there's a psychic opening. And this is why in the traditional cultures like India, where if somebody died, what they would do actually is many people in many families, they actually break the top of the skull to help the soul get released. Now this is taking it so literally. The soul was to leave through the top of the head. It doesn't mean you have to break the skull for that to happen. Because the soul doesn't, it's not limited. It can go through anything. As Krishna says, it's not burnt by fire, it is not cut by knife. That is the Atma. And we think we have to break the bone. You don't have to break the bone. It's about living consciously. And this is why in many of the higher yoga practices, when we breathe, we have a concept of the energy coming in from the top of the head, coming down to the base. And then from the base, it comes up and goes up and out the top. So there's the concept of, as you breathe, that the energy is coming in from the cosmos, that is in the Saha. So, So, And if this becomes your pattern, that every time you breathe out, you are having the sense of the energy going up and out your head. If every time you breathe out, you have that, if it becomes your pattern, on your last breath, you will also breathe out that way. It's not that you wait for your last breath and when is my last breath and then I'll breathe out that way. Most probably you'll be thinking, what do I do with my bank password and who will I give my Facebook password to? What if somebody gets all my dark secrets? Did I lock them up? This is what will be your thought, not breathing out through the top of your head. That is why it has to become part and parcel of your consciousness. Breathing in and breathing out. It has to become your nature. It is your nature that when you breathe out, the energy is going up and out the top of the head. Because life can be understood. In life, you can understand life as the period between the first inhalation and the last exhalation. That is what life is. It is that span of time between the first inhalation and the last exhalation. The first inhalation has come in. The last exhalation should go out. And when we start to become mindful of the inhalation and exhalation through this, then the Trikuti Bindu, the Trikuti chakra, we will be able to escape through that escape vent. We will take that escape route, that fire escape route towards liberation. That is why this Bindu is very important. This top of the head is so important. And this is why in many cultures, the top of the head was always covered, especially in places where there was spirituality or religious activities. People would cover the top of the head. And the idea was that to sort of keep the energy within and not let it go out. You wanted to sustain that energy inside yourself at that point. So we have been looking at these bindus Let us take a few moments to just contemplate the Bhumadhya Bindu today. Just take a few moments sitting erect, letting your mind come towards the midpoint between the eyebrows. And at that midpoint between the eyebrows, just being aware of a focal point of consciousness, a beautiful sense of light, a beautiful sense of energy manifesting. It may be seen as a small point, or it may be seen as a vortex of energy that is circulating. A beautiful light, pure light, not colored, at the midpoint between the two eyebrows. Focal point of consciousness that can be utilized as a drishti point, a bindu that can be used for Bhumadhya drishti. And as you focus on this, it becomes a type of Bhumadhya drishti becoming a Bhumadhya dharana. Focusing on the Bhumadhya bindu, just becoming aware of that energy. If the mind wanders, bring the mind back to that point. A point between the eyebrows. And at this point, begin to have an internal recitation of the japa. Focusing on the bindu. Focusing on this bindu. Rub your palms together. Bring the palms over your closed eyes and then blink into that semi-darkness. And then coming back to the externalized light, letting the mind focus. This is a very important focal point of consciousness, the Bhumadhya, and the Bhumadhya drishti, Bhumadhya tratak, where we are focusing the mind there. Because again, yato mana tata prana, where the mind goes, the prana flows. And tomorrow we'll continue exploring this with a practice called the prana kriya. If you Google it, you'll find a nice video of Shobana doing it in my meditation DVD. And this we will enhance the awareness of the Bhumadhya and also take it in to the Ajna Bindu tomorrow. So the Bhumadhya and the Ajna, we'll work on them tomorrow. And thank you for being with me. Means a lot to be with my yoga family. 76 days and counting. And let's see. It will keep going as long as it can go. Namaste. Hari Om Tat Sat.